So when did the real straw? Was it the son getting sick or the abuse? Tell us about it. Let's talk about when you really said enough is enough. I've got to get out of this.
Well, the moment that I said enough was enough actually was after my children were taken away by social services.
I read them.
And then my father, in my self-analyzation, when I look back on my growth process and how I went from, essentially a scared, controlled little girl to a woman who felt confident enough to stand up to her assailant, it had a lot to do with education, because my children were taken away from me and I was working and in the process of looking to get them back. I learned a lot about the system because my father had also instilled in us that the government was evil. And he was really into, social issues and Black people in America and their role, and enslaved peoples, our history of being enslaved. And he taught us all of those things. So I've studied African American history since, I mean, Martin Luther King's speech was on replay in our house. So when that moment came, I had gotten a lot of information on how the system worked, on how the judicial system worked, on how the government and vital statistics, because I had to try and get my children did not have birth certificates or social security numbers.
Wow.
I had to figure out how to find all of those things. Ooh. And I think through that process, my brain essentially evolved and I was able to feel confident enough in myself to say, like, look, this asshole, excuse my language, has been lying the whole time, right? There are people out there that are willing to help. There is a way for me to get away from this and not be dependent and provide for myself and provide for my children.
And you're doing an awesome job, Aziza. You articulate so well. You're so beautiful. You have come a long way, my dear. You have so much to be proud of, darling. Let me tell you, we know God. God does work in mysterious ways. You are a testimony. And I had to ask God those questions too. I had to ask him why all these things happened, and what God said to me. He told me that I was chosen for such a time as this. You're chosen, young lady, for such a time as this. God had to use somebody, and he chose you, and all the pain that we may have endured and all the pain that we may have suffered, God chose us to go through all of that for such a time as this, because he knew, look, that we were going to come out, step boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy to find grace to help in the time of need, such as today. Because there are so many people suffering that are not going to be bold like you, not going to be bold like me, and come and tell the world a dark, dirty secret that people have swept under the rug for too many years, for too long.
Right.
And I want to ask you, all the pain that you were going through, and I'm going to ask you just like this: when did Aziza fall in love with Aziza? When did Aziza find Aziza?
Lord,
because it's written all over your face.
Honestly, Deborah, from when I was a very young child, I guess you can say relationships are challenging. Let me put it like that. Relationships are challenging.
Yeah.
You will fall in love and fall out of love and blame that person and then find them again. And, so I went through that with myself. As a child, I loved myself. I was the smartest thing. I was the cutest thing as far as I was concerned. I look at sometimes I was traditional African dance. I was the best dancer in the crew. You know, I
Come
could
on now.
so I was just it. So when this thing started happening to me, it was like, well, what did I do? What did I do wrong? And then yes, I was mad at myself. And even and I think a lot of children, some children do go through this. Like I speak about in the organization, identifying children who are being molested.
Yeah, let's talk about your organization. Tell the viewers the name of your organization, how it came about, and give us a little brief synopsis of what it is that you do in your organization.
Okay, so it's called Precious Little Ladies. Our mission is to strengthen the bond between mothers and daughters to combat child molestation, incestuous abuse, domestic violence, and sexual assault. So one thing that I do is when I do speak to other women, and a lot of the media content that I create for the organization, I have, in remembering all of my experience, because I have not blocked anything out, I went through a stage where I tried to deter my father because he was polygamous, right? He was polygamous. He had other women, and he
I read that.
yeah, he made a huge deal. Looks was a big thing to him. Your body type, your face. So what I did was I stopped bathing. I stopped bathing. I stopped doing my hair. I stopped brushing my teeth. I did these things to prevent him from being attracted to me, because clearly that's what it was. So during that process, yes, I did think that I was ugly. And I mean, at some point he told me that I was not worthy of anybody else.
Hold that right there. You know why? That's the same thing that I was told.
Okay.
You're ugly. You're never gonna get married. Nobody's never gonna love you.